But good afternoon, folks. Welcome. As you know, my name is Louis. We are here with Boston Virtual Career Chats, and I'm so excited to join our special guest today to talk about their career pathway. Students, educators, if you're joining us, as you know, these are sessions where you can get an inside look as to what is it like to pursue a STEM career pathway and how can you envision yourself following that same career pathway. So here today, we're here to learn a little bit about a STEM career that's in the science space. So I don't want to say too much because our special guest is going to talk all about the company that he works for and his role there as well. But please, if you are a student or educator or just a guest listening in, please join me in welcoming our special guest, Ehab. Ehab, please introduce yourself and let us know where you work and what you do.
Hi, Louis. It's nice to be with you. I started uh, in quite some time ago, maybe more than 15 years ago. I got my bachelor degree in physics. I got this overseas from Egypt. This is where I'm from. Then I came to the United States. I worked on getting a PhD in physics from Wayne State University, Detroit, and then I joined a couple of. I also worked for Wayne State as a postdoctor, basically doing research for a couple of years. Then I joined the Lakeshore. At that time, it was the name of the company was different, but I have been working since 2019 as a sales engineer. My role is basically to figure out to understand what the needs of our customers in terms of technical requirements and apply this or figure out the best solution for them in terms of our product. What can we offer them to meet their technical requirements? And our customers are mainly people who work in research, either in a lab research at a university or in industry. Yeah, that's what I have as an introduction. Would you like to go on?
Yeah, thank you so much. Ihab, you mentioned a little bit about the company that you work for, Lakeshore. Could you mention a little bit more about the physics or the sciences that's involved in the work that you do?
So we basically the biggest specialty is temperature sensors and cryostats. And let me explain what a cryostat is. So the word cryo in science means low temperature, and when I say low, I'm talking about the around minus a large scale of sub-zero temperatures below minus 200 Celsius. In Fahrenheit, I think this is equivalent to minus 350, if I'm not wrong. And uh, we make setups which allow our customers to do measurements in this range of very low temperatures. So we basically provide them control the environment, low temperatures, high magnetic fields, and they use this environment to carry out measurements and figure out how results in terms of their research.
Nice. Okay, cool. So definitely some field work going on there, lots of physics, of course, but I hear a lot of collaboration. There's definitely different departments kind of teaming together to problem solve there. Ihab, can you talk to us a little bit about your schooling? You mentioned that you were from Egypt. Did you go to school here in the States? And if not, what was your schooling experience like growing up?
Yes, I got my bachelor degree from Egypt, but I got my graduate studies. I came to the United States for graduate studies. So I attended school here in the United States as a graduate student. I also worked as a tutor, or I taught classes at the same department where I was a student. The title for this kind of half student, half tutor job is teaching assistant. So when you get your bachelor degree in any virtually any field, you are and you get accepted for graduate studies at some school. There is a couple of options for funding to make your way through the school. One of which is to be hired by the department which you study at as a teaching assistant or a research assistant, and that's what I was here at the United States.
So definitely that introductory was walking into the research space and just kind of checking out what's going on in the STEM space. I love that you mentioned that because some of our students who are considering STEM careers aren't necessarily sure how to transition from academia into the workforce. So that's really helpful to hear about. Ehab, can you tell us a little bit about your first couple of years in the industry? What were some of the challenges or some of the experience that you went through that you weren't really expecting, and how did you overcome them?
That's a good point. So when I was working in research in academia, I money was not the biggest concern. That's always the case when you work in academia. You don't look at how much a certain solution or a certain application is going to cost as much as how it's going to help your research. So one is a completely different viewpoint of the subject, while you still look at and consider how to achieve a certain solution for some problem. The cost is a big factor at hand, and you need to think about how to achieve the required solution with the least possible expenses and the less with the least time, because time is also another resource that is not unlimited. That was the biggest challenge to us, how to shift the way of thinking from uh, not only research oriented for the sake of research, but also to optimize the resources that you have at hand.
Yeah, very important. I know a lot of sustainability work happening in the classrooms are around resource management and understanding sustainability. So it's a really good comparison to make with your personal life. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Ihab, is there anything else that you feel like is important? What was it like to kind of work at Cryotronics, Lakeshore Cryotronics, after you kind of got acclimated? I see that you might be in your workspace now. Are you indoors
Yeah.
mostly? Are you outdoors? And can you talk to us a little bit about the teamwork aspect? What are the different kinds of people that you work with and or teams?
So most of our work is indoors. We um, yeah, when we work on designing a system or talking to our customers, we sometimes we need to go out in field, but we do need this. Most of the work is a desk work or lab work, and in terms of teamwork, my role is a sales engineer, so I deal mostly with the customers, figure out what they need, but then I there is a couple of other teams which I can get help from. So, for example, we have our applications team, which who I go for when now I figured out what the actual needs, what do we need to achieve to meet the requirements for this lab, how to achieve it. This is done by the application teams. They figure out, okay, in order, for example, to reach this temperature, we need to use this system, or in order to do this type of measurement, we have to use so there is always team work involved. I discuss the customer's needs with people. We work together to figure out the best solution. Um, and then yeah, that's about it. Of course, uh, figuring out how to build a certain solution as well. We work with there is a dedicated design team to figure out how to fit everything together. There is machine shop people who apply our ideas, our on paper ideas to an actual built device, and there is our lab personnel who assemble our solution and test it and make sure it works as the way intended it to be working.
Yeah, definitely customer centric it feels there. Ehab, would it be safe to assume that there is a strong business or like a financial element to all of this? We know that you're managing relationships with clients, but do you find that you're using any math skills at all?
That's a very good question. Sometimes people think that abstract math is not applicable in real life. That's not the case. People are always fascinated with the pop science culture, where, for example, you watch a YouTube program, 10 minutes or 15 minutes talk on YouTube about black holes or missions to Mars or something as cool as that. In order to, that's very cool to hear, but works. The language of physics is math, and in order to be good in science in general, mainly in physics and in chemistry, not as much as in biology, but right now there's also a lot of applications for in biology when it comes to math. But in order to be good in physics and chemistry, you must be very good in math. Yeah, paying attention to math classes really helped me to do what I'm doing right now. Um and yeah, that I think this answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Ehab, I asked that question because, as you mentioned, some abstract concepts from the classroom are really hard to tie down or make connections to the real world. So we just know, or what you're kind of explaining to us, is that it sets the foundation to really exercise your skill set, whether that be a growth mindset or a particular skill that can help you kind of exercise a task or overcome a challenge. So students, there are definitely plenty of opportunities to kind of figure out how do you best plug in, what strengths do you have, and how can you apply them to what's needed out in the real world. Ahab, I'm really thinking about, some of our students who want to follow in your footsteps, but are really unsure. They understand that research is an entry point. What advice would you give to some students that are interested in STEM but aren't necessarily academically strong? Let's say that they like business, but balancing equations and working with fractions is not really their forte. What advice would you give to that kind of student who is who interested in that kind of pathway into STEM careers?
Um, there are some fields in STEM which are not as much involved in math, for example, as others. So some fields of engineering, for example, don't require a lot of math. Um, one very I think one field that comes to my mind is programming. Although in order to it depends on what you do in programming. Some programming work involves math. If you would like to upgrade some programming platform or come up with a new programming platform that involves math, but it's a different type of math. It's more logic than equations. But of course, for a mathematician, logic and math are the same thing, and they are in fact the same thing. But I was talking about the abstract aspect of it. You can learn programming without a lot of knowledge in math and physics. Also, biology. Some fields in biology are not involved a lot with math, and but it is involved in chemistry. But biology is a lot involved with chemistry, and some fields of biology are also a lot involved with physics. So and right, especially right now in these years, everything is interconnected. So newer fields in science, when you study, when you look at newer fields in science, you don't really see a clear distinction between physics and chemistry, or biology and chemistry. So it's hard to answer your question. But in general, some fields are less involved than others, but it is always important some knowledge about scientific substances, if you sorry, scientific subjects, if you aim to work in STEM fields.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to
And
stump you there, Ehab, but I think you mentioned a
it's
really
okay.
good point. Not all careers are all encompassing. And when I say that, you can walk into an engineering company or a, company like Lakeshore Cryotronics, and it's really involved with physics and engineering, but your role in that company doesn't have to be all about math or all about physics or all about engineering. We're seeing that there's
Sure.
definitely a degree, there's definitely different elements to the work that you can be involved in. So don't feel like, it's a missed opportunity or it's just not a fit. I think it just takes a little more work to dig a little deeper and understand what skills do you have and what problems is this
Right.
company or these kinds of industries try to solve, and do you see yourself being a part of that? So thank you. That is a really motivating kind of thing to remind our students. So if you're not
Yeah, but
strong in
let
math,
me
it's
now.
okay. You're working on a foundation. You'll definitely have opportunity to
No, but
learn more,
now I
a little
understand your
more,
question
and
better. Sorry. So
collaborate
let
with
me
others. Oh, sorry.
better. So let me add something here. Can you still hear me? Okay. I think you can still hear me. So yes, we there are other roles that do not involve a lot of knowledge with STEM subjects. For example, we have the supply chain role, where we this is a team who is responsible for getting to build an application. So yeah, there is definitely roles in the company which are not involved with knowledge of STEM subjects, for sure, and they are, of course, an integral part of the company. So it's not all about it's not only about STEM subjects, if this is what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, students, we're
Yeah.
walking into a time in, um, I wouldn't say history, but I would say development of the STEM fields where there's a lot of mixing, there's a lot of overlap, there's a lot of fusing. So definitely understand that you're walking into a really pristine time to kind of uh, make your mark in the sand, as you will. So that kind of lends me to think, Ihab, our students are ending the summer season and are prepping for the school year. Some are already kicking off the school year. What advice would you give to some of our students who might be listening in on our session today? Considering the virtual environment and those other challenges, how would what advice would you give yourself if you were in school at this time?
This is a hard time to be at school because of COVID and everything. So okay, the main advice I would tell anyone is uh, you can be anything you want, and it's not just a cliche statement. It's really if you spend enough time training yourself on a subject, you'll be good at it. Don't just think that this is not my cup of tea. I am not good at physics or history, or I am not that's not true. If you spend if I learned something through my school years, is that if you spend enough time on learning something, you will be good at it. Some people might need more time than others, but eventually, if you dedicate enough time and effort, you will do it, whatever you want to be.
Students, I hope that we are listening closely to what Ihab is saying, because although challenging, You are working on a foundation. So, persevere, definitely work through the challenges. We understand, but, you are supported. There are folks like Ehab and others in the STEM fields that are ready to kind of lend a helping hand, provide you insight, answer questions. So don't feel like you're in this alone or that this is something that you can't overcome, because you're definitely in a supportive community. So Ihab, we are coming down to the end of our session here today. And we kind of covered all of our bases here. We heard a little bit about your experience growing up. We heard a little bit about your schooling and also the transition that you made from schooling into the workforce. We even shared some advice to our students. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention to kind of help our students prepare for the school year, or just kind of really, think seriously about a STEM career pathway?
Um, I would like to say that it might be easier now to be good in STEM subjects at school uh, compared to before. You can there's countless resources online. For example, to high school, internet was not as reachable as it is now. And for example, there was no YouTube in my time. Uh, so YouTube is a great resource, for example, or in general, any video platform online can be used to if you Google something or search for something related to a certain subject that you need help with in school, you'll find that a lot of people have already spent time explaining it. And as long as you have internet connection, you have access to these resources. So it's not going to it's not as before where you had to find someone, dedicate time for a certain subject or to explain something to you. It has become much more accessible and easier. So that's one resource that people can make use of. I still make use of today in my work, whether it's articles or videos, or there's always something which you can learn from people who have spent time before studying it. So
Thank you
I
for
hope
that
this is helpful.
reminder.
Yeah,
Yeah, because oftentimes,
you're welcome.
like we're always surrounded by technology, especially now with the virtual environment and the pandemic. It's a reminder to just kind of say, hey, why don't I use this to my benefit? Let me learn something, or let me explore a little more, because who knows, it can definitely benefit you. So thank you, Ihab, for that reminder. Participants, as I mentioned, we are here at the end of our session. I enjoyed
Yeah,
my
you're
time
welcome.
speaking with you, Ihab. So thank you so much for taking the time to support BoSTEM with our virtual career chats. I really hope that the students who found the time to tune in walked away with some value, because I definitely did. Your perspective as an immigrant working in the STEM fields is super, super rare to come by. So I thank you again for providing your time during your busy workday, and also talking about the work that you're doing at Lakeshore Cryotronics. I cannot thank you and the folks at Lakeshore enough for this. So students, if you have any other questions, if you want to continue conversations about similar work in physics, engineering, or just want to learn more about Lakeshore Cryotronics and the work that EHAB is doing there, please reach out to me. Your educators have my contact information, and I can loop folks up with, folks at Lakeshore or even EHAB to kind of continue this conversation, or maybe even do a virtual field trip. Who knows? But I
Sure,
will say
sure.
this, thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. These STEM chat sessions are ongoing, so please take advantage of all of our sessions listed on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Ihab, again for taking the time to join us. Any closing words to kind of help close us out?
Thank you very much, Louis. This was I enjoyed talking to you, and I hope it was useful. I learned something today from you. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Without you, honestly, we couldn't deliver the impact that we're hoping for. So again, thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. I'll see you at a future STEM chat session. Otherwise, stay safe stay healthy, and I'll see you at our future STEM chats.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.